Okay, so I'm going to carry on with one of these demos in a minute. So the theme really this month was the same. Beginner's oils can either be traditional or the water mixable oils. Last week I used the traditional oils. And I didn't really get time to put them out this morning, so I'm just using the water mixables or something. Or you could use acrylics. So the idea is just really basic. It's really just like a simple painting, either a simple landscape, simple still life. If your friend really wants to try these mediums out and get into it. So I'll do a little bit more about that in a minute. The other thing I just wanted to mention, which I put in the email, was just be aware of any scam emails that come through that somebody's sending scam emails out looking like they come from me, which they're not from me.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a pain, but Charles got one. So so unless you're sure it's from me, don't go clicking on any links. So the way I always check if emails are genuine is looking at the address it's come from and seeing if it's the right address. So mine is paulwalcott43@yahoo.co.uk. So if it isn't that, or commas are in the wrong place or anything like that, don't just get rid of it. As you know, I send them out each week, just really with these links to the YouTube videos. But the YouTube videos are all on my site anyway, on my YouTube channel. So if you didn't want to go clicking on links, they're all on there. You can also look at those anyway, which I know some of you do, which is great. Okay, so that's that. I just want to talk a little bit more about the materials. So I was thinking about talking about the things you can paint on, like the substrates, the boards, the canvases, that sort of thing. So, has anybody lost a red umbrella from before Christmas? There you go.
Yeah, I did. I've got the cover indoors.
Yeah. And then it's coming back to me now. I remember somebody leaving one, and it was terrible.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Yeah, that's good. So things you can paint on, you can obviously get the ready-made boards and canvases. So straight out of the art shop, you can get a little canvas, that sort of thing. And obviously, the more you pay for them, the better quality they're going to be. This that I'm painting on is canvas, but it just hasn't been stretched on a stretcher. So at some point, if it's any good, I could always stretch it on a stretcher. The canvas bar boards are literally just like a piece of cardboard with a bit of canvas, cloth or cotton stretched over the top. And that just gives you a little bit of texture if you wanted a bit of texture. I've got these cheap ones here for sale if anybody wants one of these. The little ones are about 90p, so if anybody wants one of those. So they're cheap and cheerful. If you wanted to pay a bit more, I think this one was about £4 or £5. I got that from Jackson's. And it's a nicer sort of surface. It's like a fine cotton rather than a coarse canvas weave. And it's also it's stuck on a bit of MDF board rather than on a bit of cardboard. So obviously, like anything, the more you pay, the better quality you're going to get. So they're the kind of ready-made options. You can also make your own boards, and another week I'll talk a bit more about that. But there's all sorts of things. I sometimes use hardboard. That's just a little piece of hardboard, and then if you're making your own, you'll then need to prime them with something. So a couple of coats of something like emulsion paint, acrylic primer, gesso primer, which is really just acrylic primer with a little bit of texture to it, and then you've got a nice surface to paint on. This was a bit of a kitchen cupboard, so back of the kitchen cupboard, did that one. As I say, you can get pads of canvas, rolls of canvas. What's that one? That is just a piece of mount board. So sometimes you'll find that picture framing shops will have like the cuts and mounts, and then they've got the little bits in the middle. And quite often they'll sell off the little rectangles in the middle. So they're good for cheap, a cheap surface, a nice smooth surface. And the nice thing about painting on board rather than paper is it doesn't cockle in the same way. So it's a bit flimsy, you can easily bash in the corners. I think this is back of a sketch pad or something like that. So anything that's just like, reasonably rigid cardboard works nicely. These paintings I did in Scotland, I just literally bought some foam board, lightweight foam board, and stuck some canvas onto it. just to keep it light, so I didn't have anything heavy to carry around. So that worked quite well when I went up to Scotland. Another thing that people often ask me is how you carry oil paintings around, because obviously this is going to take quite a few days at least to dry, something like that. So the easiest method really is to get a piece of board the same size and just stick either some skewers or some matchsticks around the edge, and then you can just place that on the edge, and then what you then do is just get a bit of tape it together so that so it doesn't move around really. And then I find if I just pop that in a plastic bag so that any paint that's on the edges doesn't get all over anything that you're carrying with you. So I've put those into suitcases or bags to travel, things like that. So that's a nice easy way of carrying wet oil paints around, which is one of the challenges if you come into a class with your painting. So that's a little bit about painting surfaces. I'll carry on a little bit of these too. So this one I started last week. It was really just underpainting. So the idea was just to sketch out the image, and I used brown and blue for that. They're quite quick drying, whereas if you start putting white in, that slows down the drying of the paint. So for that reason, I kept it with just those colours. And what I'll do now is just add a little bit of colour up here. One thing with the colours, quite often the sets of colours you get have all the basic colours in there. So these are the colours that I suggest you use if you're starting out painting. So a couple of blues, like a purpley blue and a greeny blue, a greeny yellow and a orangey yellow, and an orangey red and a purpley red. So as long as you've got one each, or a couple of each of the primaries. Some titanium white is really good, and then maybe a brown as well, just to help get some really darks. But most of the sets, some of the students this morning came in with like sets. They've got paint with about 10 colours in, and they had all those in there. So that's quite a good place to start. I'll go into colour mixing a little bit more next week. So I'm thinking something like this. Well, with both of these paintings, I like to work background to foreground. So this is a traditional way to work. As I say, underpainting first, and then get some background in, and then gradually work forward. So this one, it would need some sky colour. So I'm going to start with it's going to be a sort of greyish colour. So I'm going to use some white and a little bit of blue. Probably a little bit of all the colours, I'll probably just do all the colours. So I'll start with that's just a bit too bright, a bit too blue. So I just want to tone that down. So I'll add a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow, and that should grey that down. Or alternatively, I could use some brown and yellow. And red. So that creates a sort of greyish tone that I can then sort of work in there. Generally, I like to go a little bit darker into light, so I'm just going to make that a tiny bit darker. And being canvas, this does slow down the painting a little bit because you've got this quite a strong texture to work into. So I need to mix a bit of that. These little sort of telegraph holes in the distance, I could just go over there, but I've just left a hint of where they are. So that's the slightly darker tone. Then there's a few clouds there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more white on it. Just lighten that a bit. And just work that into there. So that, because I've got wet paint on there already, it will pick that up a little bit. So I've got to keep it fairly light touch. So if I carry that on, just have a little bit more around. And the next stage would be to work maybe some of these hedgerows in the background, and And again, I'll see if I can do that with, I could use the brown, but I'm just seeing if I can do it without the brown actually. So blue and red will make a kind of purpley colour, perhaps a little bit of this red, cadmium red, and some yellows. So that makes a sort of brownish colour, and then a little bit of white, grey that down. Got that there, work back into that area. Again, working the darker colours in first, and then if I wanted to just lighten some of that, I can just pop a bit more white in with that. Perhaps have some slightly lighter tones in there too. And then gradually sort of work forward. Perhaps these reeds would come in next, and then come back forward that way. And it's a similar sort of thing here. You know, start with this yellowy colour, then a little bit of this colour on the bottle. Let's paint the bottle in there. The pomegranate next, and then the beetroot after that. Just gradually working forward. Is that okay?
How did you start that sky?
This, well, so far I've just tried using, I've used a bit of magenta and a little bit of ultramarine and some yellow, so to make it grey. So the yellow is cadmium yellow. So I normally just go straight for burnt umber, but I'll see if I can just do it with the colours. But yeah, another quicker way is probably ultramarine. I'll do a bit with that and burnt umber and some white. A bit of white. The good thing about mixing out blue and brown is you've got your brown is quite a warm colour and the blue is quite a cool colour, so you can mix it grey. That'd be a much darker grey, but if you get a grey that's, the more blue you put in, the cooler it gets, and the more brown, the warmer you get. And that way you can control your greys.
So if you wanted to like that, would you put white with it?
Yeah, just add some white. So again, I've just put a little bit of white in there, and that's a light bit. Like that.
What about using something like Payne's Grey?
You could do. The thing with Payne's Grey is it's a black. It's made out of black. So usually when you look at the colours on the tube, it's made out of black and blue. So what I tend to do is if I'm encouraging people to start painting, just use colour. And then once you're confident in how to use colour, then add the greys.
So what was your basic grey mix? Sorry, just say that again.
Yeah, so either a little bit of red, yellow and blue, or brown and blue. Ultramarine blue and one of the browns, like umber, burnt umber or raw umber. Yeah, that's a very quick easy way to make great.
Yeah, I've done the brown and blue. I've tried that before. So red, yellow.
Yeah, red, yellow and